I appreciate I am yet to demonstrate an in-depth video on the anti-cheat. This does not cover everything and in some ways scratches the surface on its capability. But here is a video that goes into more detail on how to use the anti-cheat and some of its features. Don't forget to join the Discord, the link is below, and keep up to date with all of my other upcoming scripts. At first glance, the Hypas Anti-Cheat panel contains a significant amount of information. That is intentional because the panel is designed to support both quick staff checks and deeper security investigations. However, new administrators do not need to understand every detection category, score, or technical value before they can use it effectively. The easiest way to understand the panel is to follow one simple process. Identify the risk, review the evidence, and then decide whether action is necessary. I'm now going to walk through the panel from the perspective of somebody opening it for the first time. The anti-cheat panel is opened using T/AC panel. Only authorized members of staff with the correct ACE permission can access it. The default administrative permission is hypas.ac.admin. The permission check is performed server-side. This means that somebody cannot gain access simply by opening the interface manually. The dashboard. The dashboard provides a general overview of the anti-cheat. This is the best place for a staff member to begin. Depending on the current information available, the dashboard may show details such as number of online players, active security warnings, high-risk players, recent detections, critical incidents, anti-cheat component, status server, protection state, lockdown status, recent staff actions. The dashboard is not intended to prove that somebody is cheating. It is a starting point. For example, if the dashboard shows that one player has generated several high-risk detections, staff can select that player and investigate further. If there are no major warnings, staff do not need to inspect every player manually. The dashboard helps staff focus their attention where it is most useful. Each area has a separate purpose. New staff should think of the sidebar as moving between three types of information. Player information. This is where staff review individual players, risk levels, detections, weapons, movement, combat behavior, and other security information. The player list shows the players currently available for review. Each player entry may display information such as player name, server ID, current risk level, number of detections, strike count, recent activity, current security restrictions. Whether the player is being watched or investigated, players can be selected directly from this list. When a player is selected, the panel opens their security profile. The profile may contain player identifiers, character information, current risk, strike count, aim risk information, recent detections, movement, history, weapon information, inventory warnings, entity activity, server event activity, suspicious native reports, resource integrity warnings, staff notes, previous administrative actions. Not every player will have information in every category. For example, a player who has generated a movement warning may have no suspicious weapon or inventory activity. This is useful because staff can quickly see whether a detection is isolated or supported by other evidence. The detection history shows the security events associated with the selected player. Each entry should be read as an individual piece of evidence. A detection may contain information such as detection category, severity, date and time description, relevant values, player, state position, weapon or entity involved, event name, repetition count, associated risk increase. One of the first things staff will notice is the player's risk level. Risk levels are used to help prioritize investigations. A low-risk player may have no detections or only minor informational records. A medium-risk player may have repeated warnings or a combination of unusual activity. A high-risk player may have generated serious or repeated detections across one or more categories. A critical player may have activated a high-confidence detection, such as a honeypot, severe event abuse, or another configured critical trigger. Risk should be treated as a guide rather than an automatic verdict. A player with a medium or high-risk level should be reviewed. That does not mean they should immediately be banned. Staff should open the evidence and understand what caused the score. The most important question is not, how high is the number? The important question is, what caused the number to become high? The identifiers section helps staff confirm exactly which account is being investigated. This may include identifiers associated with the player's RedM or CFX connection. Identifiers are important because player names and character names can change. Two players may also use similar or identical display names. Staff should verify the identifiers before applying a serious punishment. This helps prevent action being taken against the wrong player. Identifiers should also be treated as staff-only information and handled according to the server's privacy and moderation policies. The evidence view provides more information than the short detection summary. For example, a summary may say that abnormal movement was detected. The detailed evidence may show the distance traveled, the amount of time involved, the player's previous position, the player's new position, whether the player was mounted, whether they were inside a vehicle, whether an authorized teleport was active, whether the detection was repeated, what other warnings occurred nearby in time. This context can completely change the meaning of a detection. A player traveling a large distance because an administrator teleported them is not the same as a player repeatedly teleporting without authorization. Staff should open the detailed evidence before taking serious action. Investigation tools. Once the evidence has been reviewed, staff can use the investigation tools. These tools should be used deliberately. They are not all punishments. Several are designed to control the situation while staff collect more information. Spectate. Spectate allows staff to observe the selected player. This is useful when the detections indicate that suspicious behavior may still be happening. Before spectating, review the evidence so you know what behavior you are looking for. For example, unnatural movement, tracking players through buildings, impossible accuracy, repeated entity creation, unauthorized weapons, menu-style actions. Do not rely only on a short period of spectating. Some players will stop suspicious behavior when they believe staff are watching. Shadow Watch is intended for discreet monitoring. This allows staff to mark a player for continued observation without immediately confronting them. It is useful when the evidence is concerning, but not yet conclusive. The purpose is to collect additional information and recognize repeated patterns. Shadow Watch is particularly useful for possible ESP, aim assistance, and subtle menu behavior. Refresh snapshot requests updated information about the selected player. This may update details such as current position, current weapon player state, recent detections, risk information, active restrictions. Use this when the information displayed may be outdated or when the player situation has changed during the investigation. Freeze prevents the player from moving. This can be used when the player is actively disrupting others. Staff need to prevent escape. The player is being questioned. The player is in an invalid location. Further movement could cause damage. Freeze should not be used simply because a player has one low-confidence detection. It is a control tool for active situations. No damage prevents the player from harming others during an investigation. This is useful when a player is suspected of using combat cheats or is actively attacking the server population. It allows staff to continue gathering information without allowing further harm. Isolation separates the player from normal server activity. This is one of the stronger investigation controls. It may be used when a player is actively causing significant disruption or when staff need to prevent them from interacting with other players and systems. Isolation can be appropriate during active exploit attempts, entity spam, severe event abuse, continued malicious activity. It provides a controlled environment while staff decide what action to take. Reset strikes clears the player's accumulated security strikes. This should normally be used only after the detections have been reviewed. Appropriate reasons may include: the detections were caused by a legitimate resource. The investigation has been completed. A senior staff member has approved the reset strikes should not be reset simply because the player asks. The reason for the reset should be recorded in the staff notes. Reset aim score clears the accumulated combat risk score. This may be appropriate after testing, a confirmed false positive, a configuration adjustment, completion of an investigation, a legitimate explanation for the recorded combat behavior. Resetting the aim score does not delete the underlying evidence unless the system has been specifically configured to do so. The logs section provides a broader view of anti-cheat activity. Unlike a player profile, which focuses on one person, the log view can show detections from across the server. The logs can normally be filtered by player detection type severity time category, enforcement action. This is useful when investigating a wider incident. The panel may include an option to clear displayed or stored logs, depending on permissions and configuration. This should be treated as a senior administrative function. Logs may contain evidence needed for player appeals, staff reviews, exploit investigations, developer debugging ban decisions, security improvements. Do not clear logs merely to tidy the interface. The staff audit section records actions taken through the anti-cheat. This can include spectate actions, freezes inventory locks, weapon locks, isolation, weapon removal, strike resets, aim score resets, staff notes, lockdown changes, other administrative controls. The audit trail answers 4 important questions: who performed the action, which player was affected, what action was taken, when did it happen. This protects players from unrecorded staff abuse and protects staff from false accusations. Senior administrators can use the audit section to review how the anti-cheat tools are being used. The health section helps server owners and senior staff confirm that the system is operating correctly. It may provide information about server component status, client communication, database connectivity, resource integrity, active protection modules, missing configuration, permission issues, framework integrations, recent system errors. The health section is not normally required during an ordinary player investigation. It is mainly used for initial setup, troubleshooting server restarts, resource updates, diagnosing missing detections, confirming that protection modules are active. The lockdown area contains emergency server protection controls. Panic lockdown should only be used when the server is experiencing a serious active incident. Examples include mass entity spam, widespread event abuse, active economy exploitation, coordinated malicious activity, repeated crash attempts. A menu attack affecting multiple players. Lockdown is not intended for dealing with one mildly suspicious player. It is an emergency stabilization tool. Different detections have different levels of confidence. An informational entry may simply record something unusual. A warning may indicate behavior that needs monitoring. A high-risk detection indicates that the behavior is significantly outside expected limits. A critical detection may indicate activity with little or no legitimate explanation. For example, activating a honeypot event carries much more confidence than one unusual movement reading. New staff should therefore pay attention to both. The severity of the detection. The type of detection. 10 minor movement warnings do not necessarily mean the same thing as one critical honeypot activation. The panel is designed to show both the quantity and quality of the evidence. Hypas Anti-Cheat has been built for server owners who want more than a collection of basic checks. It is intended for communities that need detailed monitoring, layered protection, structured evidence, and practical administrative control. From the event firewall and honeypots to entity protection, combat analysis, inventory monitoring, resource integrity, and staff auditing, every layer is designed to make malicious activity more difficult and easier to investigate. The objective is not to claim that cheating can be completely eliminated. The objective is to make your server a significantly harder target detect suspicious behavior earlier, preserve useful evidence, and give your staff the tools to act before serious damage is done. That is Hypas Anti-Cheat. Layered protection, detailed evidence, practical server control, built for RedM.